Orientalism tries to answer the question of why, when we think of the Middle East, for example, we have a preconceived notion of what kind of people live there, what they believe, how they act, even though we may never have been there or indeed even met anyone from there. More generally, Orientalism asks, how do we come to understand people, strangers, who look different to us by virtue of the color of their skin? The central argument of Orientalism is that the way we acquire this knowledge is not innocent or objective, but the end result of a process that reflects certain interests. That is, it is highly motivated.
Is the Arab world full of terrorists? Well, I mean, all you have to do is sort of break down the question into common sense and say, there are terrorists, as there are everywhere. But, you know, there's a lot more going on there. I mean, there's very little in common that you can talk about as Islam, let's say, between Indonesia and Saudi Arabia. I mean, they're both Muslim countries, but, you know, the differences in history and language and traditions and so on are so vast that the word Islam has, at best, a tenuous meaning. The same is true within the Arab world. I mean, Morocco is very different from Saudi Arabia. Algeria is very different from Egypt.
Muslims in America. Can you be a good Muslim and a good American?
No, I do not believe you can.
Why are so many so feared, so misunderstood? If you got on a plane and saw a Muslim man reading the Quran, would you get nervous?
I am an American. I do not feel like I need to explain my religion.
10 years since 9/11. What have we really learned?
When there are jihadist attacks, they do it in the name of their god, Allah. These people disgust me.
A poll conducted last year showed nearly half of all Americans held an unfavorable view of Islam, a 10% increase since 2002.
Henderson police are investigating some of their own officers tonight after a complaint. A group of men say they were detained when they'd stopped to pray in a parking lot. The men say they were targeted because they're Muslim.
Well, we are praying, you know, there's a Muslim prayer. Is that enough for you to say that this is suspicious activity?
Well, that's why I'm checking it out. Do I know what you were saying? I mean, I don't know if you guys repeat the same thing or if you're actually over there going, I hope that I kill a police officer today.
Chicago public school teacher says that his teacher used him as an example of a terrorist in his class.
They say the boy, who was 12 years old at the time, suffered harassment as a result of a comment the teacher made comparing him to a terrorist. His family says the boy came home from school with tears in his eyes as he described the painful harassment he faced from other students immediately afterward.
Tonight, a North Texas apartment complex faces accusations of segregating Muslims in buildings away from other tenants.
We were told that if they have an accent or a different name, that we were supposed to tell them that we didn't have anything available. She referred to them as curry people, and that they used curry to cook with, and that they smelled bad, and that they were dirty.
Wow. Wow. That's unfortunate. When we start grouping people together, we're creating a very divisive element. How are we supposed to understand and relate and appreciate one another if we can't even stand to live next to each other?
Well, then I'll come by sometime and get it from you. My name is Afifa Saeed, and I'm Senior Advisor for Culture and Development with the Middle East and Asia Bureaus at USAID. My family is from Kashmir. I was born there, and then my father and mother came to the United States to study for graduate studies, so I've been here all my life, pretty much. But to me, there's no contradiction between being an American, between being a Muslim. In fact, I think with all the travels that I've done and worked in so many places, for me, the comfort zone that I have is here in America. because of this simple, seamless connection between the two identities that forge into one. I don't think you can say, well, this person identifies or represents American Muslims anymore, which is a celebration, actually, to be able to say we have such diversity that many people can speak for the community.
This is the story of United States Army Specialist Zachary Kluwan. Zachary Kluwan is an American citizen, a first-class U.S. soldier from Alpha 45 AMD Air Missile Defense Unit at Fort Hood. Tough, smart, educated, intelligent. In fact, they say he might even be a perfect candidate for the Special Forces. It was about 2 years ago when Specialist Zachary Kluwan left Florida to join the U.S. Army, something he felt extremely passionate about. He says he wanted to contribute in the war against terrorism because he cherishes the American Constitution and the freedom and liberties that come with it.
In essence, how, as cliche as it sounds, the American dream is alive. If you apply yourself, the sky's the limit. That's wonderful. And if you're not prepared to defend that, what are you prepared to defend?
In 1992, the riots that set Los Angeles ablaze sparked an idea in the minds of a handful of Muslim American students at UCLA. It was an impulse kindled by their Islamic faith, a faith which taught them if they saw something wrong, they should fix it. Undaunted and unfazed, they decided to build a free clinic. They didn't know how they were going to do it, but they just started it. They made cold calls and wrote letters. They knocked on doors and hauled furniture. They collected equipment and wrote proposals. They joined hands with people of other faiths and partnered with the City of Los Angeles, Charles R. University, and UCLA. And somehow, together, they pulled it off. 3 years later, in 1996, the Ummah Clinic was born, the first charitable clinic in the U.S. started by Muslim Americans.
I mean, I think awareness. I don't know if I'm to say that they should start teaching these classes in elementary school. No, that might seem ridiculous, but maybe in middle school they should be teaching world geography or something, like basic stuff, or maybe history. But it's definitely has to be awareness, just letting people know that they're not the only ones living in this world.
I mean, one of my classes, for example, I'll give a shout out to my professor, Professor Pham. He's my genetics professor. And whenever it's time to, his midterms are between 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., right? So it comes in, Maghrib comes in between, and Isha comes in before the test is over. So I would miss Maghrib, right? And his rule is you're not allowed to leave the room for no bathroom breaks, no breaks at all, right? Except for me. He always comes in because I told him beforehand that I need to go pray, and he would escort me out personally, take a 5-minute break. I would go pray right outside, and he would say God be with you, man. Hopefully you do well on the test. I was like, thanks, and then I go right back in. I don't ask for extra time because I thought that might have been, unfair, or I don't know. I just didn't ask for extra time, but I really think he would have given it to me, So, UCLA is cool too.
Me now, tell me you invite me or that you don't want me around. I won't cry over a world that can't change my life. I'll put my money on what lies ahead in paradise. I wanna live in a land called paradise. I wanna go to the valley of the King. I wanna live in a land called paradise. Wanna see the birds fly, I wanna hear the angels sing.